Hello, and welcome to my greenhouse here on the red planet, Mars. We are here to discuss plants for colonization. And the first question, what do we need plants for? Here on Earth, we use plants for various reasons, from just decoration to medicinal, and of course, plants are the reason that we have the atmosphere we do. They are the oxygen producers. Um, we would be bringing plants to Mars for oxygen, food, potentially just to make us feel more at home, and even for potential medicinal value. The plants that we bring with us need to fill a few requirements. They need to be easy to grow. They need to be flexible both in what we can do with them as well as flexible in their needs. Um, and ultimately, any plant we bring with us is going to need to be useful. There are going to be some problems. Here are a few of them. Mars has 1/3 the gravity. It's just less massive. It's a smaller planet. It has low air pressure. The air pressure on Mars is about 0.7% of what it is at sea level here on Earth. There is no magnetosphere, so there is no protection from the solar wind and charged particles that are raining down on the planet. There's no oxygen. There's very little nitrogen available. There is no organic matter in the soil. Um, and there are space issues, not trying to make a silly pun, but anything both for transit to the planet and once we're there trying to establish our colony, space is going to be an issue. There's not going to be a great deal of it. Let's take first look at the gravity issue. It is what it is. There's really nothing that we're going to be able to do about it. We are just going to have to adapt. How is this going to affect plants? Probably not a whole lot. There are other things that probably will prove to be more problematic, like the air pressure and the lack of a magnetosphere. We're just going to have greenhouses. We are not going to be able to just plant out on the Martian surface and hope that the plants can survive. The solar wind will be bombarding the planet with charged particles that can cause damage. So greenhouses, domes, these are the sort of things that we're going to need. That should solve those two problems. The oxygen is obviously a problem. That's why we would need them. But plants also need oxygen to undergo respiration just like we do. So initially getting the plants healthy and getting a crop going may be somewhat problematic. There is very little nitrogen available on the planet. This also is going to have to be assessed. Probably have to bring some sort of fertilizers with us early on, at least to get the crops going. Again, no organic matter. Fertilizer. There's not going to be nutrient-rich soil there. Is it something we're going to have to bring with, or are we going to be able to bring with just some of the basic nutrients? And then, like I mentioned, the issue of space. It's going to be cramped no matter what way we look at it, from transit there to the living on the colony. It's going to be cramped. We need to find plants that don't require great big fields. There is one big problem: water. We are going to need water to make this work. Plants, if you recall, that's where the oxygen comes from. It comes from breaking the bonds of water. We need that there to get the oxygen. Now, possibly we could mine for water when we get there. We know there's water under the ice caps, under the frozen carbon dioxide. There may be a way to get water from trapped in ancient rocks. But we are going to have to solve that problem. We need water. Well, there are some things that are a benefit to growing plants on Mars, believe it or not. Uh, well, a couple benefits that I could think of anyway. Um, there's carbon dioxide. Plants need carbon dioxide. Well, great. There is carbon dioxide. So compared to starting a base on somewhere with absolutely no atmosphere, we've got one raw material required right there. Another nice thing about Mars is the day is similar to Earth, um, and also the temperature is compatible. Um, let's take a look at the carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide makes up over 95% of the Martian atmosphere. This is also working in our favor is the length of the Martian day. Um, the Martian day is only about 40 minutes longer than an Earth day. This is something that we would be able to adjust to, and it would also be very easy to grow the plants in. Um, the last one is the temperature. The temperature is technically compatible. Depending on where you are, temperature on Mars on warm days could be as high as positive 5 degrees Celsius, and in the colder polar regions in the winter, down as low as negative 143 degrees Celsius. Now those are maximums. Naturally, we would be living in enclosures, or as some people suggested, possibly caves. But for on the surface, for our greenhouses, for our plants, they would need that trapping of radiation created by its enclosure in order to help stay warm. What are some potential plants that would be good to take with us? Well, I took a look at 3 plants. Took a look at a lot of different plants, but some of the ones that seem to make sense. One thing is soybeans. The other algae, and the other one that NASA is evidently working on is genetically enhancing plants that will be suitable for this situation. Let's look at soybeans. Soybeans are great because of their versatility. You can use soy for so many things. It's really getting somewhat ridiculous. There was even discussion on the site that I saw of making soy type potato chips. So there's no doubt that they're versatile. The one that I really like is the idea of algae. Algae can grow in vertical columns. It doesn't take up a lot of space. It has many uses. Algae produces a lot of vegetable oil. Algae can be used for food sources for people, and if we eventually brought livestock, this would be a good one. Also for fertilizing the soil. If we didn't want to eat it, we could use that organic matter to help develop soil. One of the big drawbacks of algae is going to be that water situation, if we can get enough water to do it. The soybeans, they take up a lot more space than the algae would. So they're both very versatile. Both could be very useful. In my opinion, soybeans would take up more space. Algae, we're going to need water to grow it. It can be done in columns, it can be done in tanks, but you can't get around the fact that we're going to need water. The last one to discuss is genetically enhanced plants. Now, there's discussion of using extremophiles to get the DNA to create plants that can survive in extreme climates. And this would be considered an extreme climate. I'm not sure that we could get a plant that could survive the onslaught of ions raining down on the planet. But even if we could bring plants that would be better suited for what we need them to do in the greenhouses. So this is an area that we should explore, and maybe the plants that we end up taking with us are ones that haven't even been devised yet. Well, that concludes my plant discussion here on Mars. Hopefully you've learned something. I've learned a lot working on it. It's been a lot of fun, and thanks for stopping by.